So we have completed till the complications of diabetes. We have understood so far what is diabetes, the causes of diabetes, the symptoms, the complications. And now let's go to the fifth part, which is how to manage diabetes, because everybody is asking, can it be cured, right? But let's see the first, the medical aspect of it, the medical terminologies and what is already there in the allopathic medicines. So, which even a doctor would suggest to all of us. So some of the things which all the doctors have been mentioning and all the therapists have been mentioning is diet, a healthy diet, regular exercise, then oral hypoglycemic drugs and injectable insulin. So now let's go to these things one by one, Anita, and understand how they impact our diabetes.
Yes. The right diet, of course, is going to play a very important role in managing diabetes. I would like to say that the diet at the right time, right proportion, and everything has to be right. Now, even if one is not right, let's say the timings of the food, the combination of the food, or the quantity of the food is not right, it's again going to create a stress to the digestive organs. It's the first part. See, as I said, diabetes is, to put it very simple, a disease of indigestion. The body is not able to digest the food efficiently.
Right.
The consequences are which increases to the high blood sugar levels. Now, when the digestion itself is not good, then everything goes bad. So, the right combination, the right type of food, it's like, and the processing of the food as much as possible, like as you always suggest, be as natural as possible. That's what I've personally found in my case also. Like the less you process the food, the better the body is able to absorb nutrients from it. And majority of them, including myself, I had a severe case of indigestion. Majority of the food I couldn't digest.
And so many of our students also complain of constipation issues and all those things,
bloating,
and again related to the stomach issues, right? And bloating and all of these. Now, Ayurveda, yoga has been talking endlessly about eat when you're hungry. Do not eat more than the capacity of your stomach. But because of the stress levels and the poor management of our understanding even how much to eat, how much not to eat, because the doctor says, okay, eat 4 times, 5 times a day. And
for diabetes, it is 6 times a day.
So yeah, let's go on to that part, because that's again contradicts what we are saying in naturopathy and yoga and Ayurveda. They don't eat more than needed. But here, why is allopathic doctor talking eat 5 times a day?
So one thing is, even doctors recognize that if you eat too much in one go, the body is not going to digest the food. So their understanding is, okay, you take small quantities of food. And because in addition, most of the people with diabetes are prescribed some drugs which is going to reduce the blood sugar levels. So if we are going to give artificially drugs, it's very easy to reduce the sugar levels, but the effect is very temporary. Like I would like to say that if you take a medicine to control diabetes, for short period, yes, it controls. What it does is it immediately converts all the glucose in the blood to fat and gets stored. That's why people who take medications, they put on weight. It converts it to fat. It's very simple. It's like it's not going to do a quality check over there. Is this food, is this glucose good, bad? Because the body is not taking the insulin and the glucose, maybe because it feels the quality of the glucose is not good. It's not up to the way it requires the glucose to be. Because if you understand the chemistry of glucose exists in 2 forms. We call it as, in chemistry, it's called as a cis and trans isomer form. So the body requires a particular quality of glucose. Now, if the body is going to produce glucose, which is of poor quality because of poor digestion, the body doesn't want that glucose. But what we do with taking of these pills is we forcefully convert all these into glycogen, damaging the liver because it's not a good quality glycogen. And we converts all this to fat. So people obviously tend on to put on weight when you take these medications. And because these medications immediately bring down, but of course these days you have drugs which don't immediately bring down, but nevertheless, they keep triggering that hunger response in your body. It's like the brain is not satisfied. It's like you eat, but you're constantly craving. People, most of the common complaint with diabetes is, I always feel hungry, I always feel tired. And people sometimes associate tiredness with eating. So, there are these different aspects to the diet and the use of medications, which makes the people to eat. And that's why the doctors also said, yeah, you feel tired, okay, eat. And take small portions of food. But of course, like literally small portions of food and what we practically eat, the small portions of food, are not the same. The doctors might say this much, or the dietitian might prescribe this food. Hardly how many of us follow that? They say, like, take only one small katori of rice.
And it goes very contradicting to our ancient ways. Like in the ashram, we were supposed to be like, there were timelines to eat food, right? You eat in the morning, let's say, and then you are given at a specific time. And I've traveled to so many ashrams in the last few years, and usually one of the routine remains like 11 a.m. and they're having the breakfast, and then till 7 p.m. directly they're having the dinner. There is nothing, absolutely nothing in between, which is giving your body a time to digest whatever you've eaten completely 100%, and then also generate a fire in your stomach for the next food to come and be ready to digest. But when we are breaking that fire, when we are breaking that energy with small bits and pieces in between, we're not really feeling hungry at all in real sense, but we are again feeding it 5 times, 10 times a day, and which is creating like unnecessary burden in the body, because we're someday using the system again and again. It's like using a machine whole day. Instead, use it for a few hours, give it some rest. Even we do it for our cars. We don't drive it continuously. The moment it heats up, we stop it, right? At a slow corner house, in a long drive. And then once it is ready, then we go. But interestingly, we never think of our body from the same logic. Let's go on to the next part about exercise. So diet is very, very important to give the right quantity at the right time of the right quality. We'll be giving more information in our workshop to all of the people, how you can organize it, and very, very specific diet which people suffering from type 1 or type 2 diabetes need to follow to get instant results. So let's go to the exercise part of it.
Yes. So the common exercise prescribed for diabetes is walking. Walk for half an hour, 1 hour. And the doctors, it feels very, incomplete when you say, okay, just do walking. Most of the cases, the doctors say, just do walking. I've also did walking for so many years, and I didn't see any results. and of course, I also had a very hectic lifestyle at that time.
But they never said, no, it will cure. They have already said it's incurable, but do walking. So they're never telling it's going to cure. So this is very interesting again, Anita, because why doctors are saying it? Because people are not moving at all. And they want, walking is the least thing any animal on this planet can do to move around. All the animals are already walking in searching of the food also, let's say. Right? And but we are so fortunate enough being civilized that everything is delivered at our home with Amazon today. We don't even need to go out. And the food is also being delivered. We don't even need to cook the food. So somewhere I feel, that is a good way where, okay, at least walk. And if you can, those who can walk, start running. And those who can start running and walking and jogging, please start doing some yoga practices that they're saying. So slowly they're also telling you how to, grow and move your body continuously step by step in an organized manner.
Exactly. So in my times, now I remember, in my times, what happened was, right from my smile, like when I was diagnosed at a young age, your doctors used to say, just make her walk, let her not participate in a lot of sports activities. So this had a real impact in my life, because I was not allowed to participate in all the competitive activities, like, sports activities are part of your school curriculum. And so all the long jump, short put, everything was like forbidden for me. I just used to do that march pass, and I used to like, why? But of course, on my part also, I got so used to it. Like, I didn't do much of exercise, because doctor said, let her walk, let her run. Whatever walking, running I did as part of my day-to-day activities was water. I didn't realize that was the biggest blunder of my life, because if the doctors had given importance. And if my parents, and of course I don't blame my parents, because they only just blindly following what the doctors said, and they had not restricted my physical activities, like sports activities rather, I think I would have done much better. But they were worried about the stress, the high blood sugar levels, the low blood sugar levels, and consequently the only activity given was walking. That's why when people say walking, I get very like not walking alone is not going to help you. Yes, it might help you, as you had rightly put in, instead of not doing any activities. So, but later on, when I started exploring for different modalities, and of course I was exposed to yoga also. But before yoga, I did gymming. So I just have to add that point. I did my turn of like going to the gym and doing all the activities. And if you ask me, was my sugar levels under control, I would say that they were better, but they were not fully under control, because gym activities gave me stress.
Yeah,
I was stressed. I enjoyed it. I'm not saying that I didn't enjoy the gym activity, but after the activity, if you ask me how did I feel, I used to feel drained. So that's when I started, like from gymming, going to the gym to look for other physical activities. It's a part of my doing research. And I was first exposed to therapeutic yoga. So my yoga teacher at that time, she started, and I actually started like, yeah, it's nice, the gentle movements. So maybe you should tell a little bit about, and it's not necessary to have that fast-paced action, but how the gentleness of the movement can really help the body. I think you are the expert in that.
So when I went to the ashram, and this was very important, because from the outside, just watching yoga on magazines or YouTube videos, it looks very fancy, and the difficult the posture is, the better the yoga looks from outside. And when I went to the ashram, it was all about simplification. It was all about removing the clutter and focus, connecting with the energy, breathing consciously. It was not about sitting in a complicated body shape, but like simple Sukhasana also, simple Vajrasana also, which is so simple, everybody can do it. But the difficult challenge comes in the mind, focusing the mind on where you want it to take, focusing your mind to your pelvic region, focusing your mind to the, tips of your fingers, and connecting them energetically to different organs of your body with the Sparsh Mudras we teach. And simple, gentle movements are given so much of priority in classical yoga, where, just simple movements of the wrist, but done in the right mind frame. This looks very easy to do from outside, but when you really have to focus your mind, that body, mind, breath, the triangle which we teach to the students in the community, and then you have to really focus with the energy and raise the vibration, it takes yoga to a different dimension. It takes that union of energies, and that creates, it's very simple, it creates a good blood flow, it creates a good flow of oxygen, fresh oxygen, and from yogic point of view, the Pran Shakti increases, which is the ultimate which you want to reach to heal any organ. So simple movements done regularly at specific intervals. You have to do it regularly at specific. So in therapeutic yoga, we teach people, okay, do it 2 to 3 times a day at regular intervals, like just like you have food. Okay, so again, you're sending that positive energy, and then relaxation also is a part of it. Why doing simple things? Because it's not only just about stretching, but after stressing or stretching, relaxing the organ becomes very important, which unfortunately so many of the teachers are not even talking about. Shavasana is given so much of importance in our processes of healing therapies, because that is the time when you're really harnessing the energy and absorbing it in the body. And so many yoga teachers overlook it or don't talk about it because it looks so boring. So we don't have to make things exciting from outside, but therapeutically we have to understand why simple practices are more powerful than doing complicated ones.